So, Mark, did you see that meme that highlights the line between old people like us and the younger kids? Yeah, I mean, the bigger screen is better, right?
Yeah, I can't plan a trip on my phone. I mean, I know there are people out there that do, but I'll book like a hotel, a couple nights stay, or like, something quick. Maybe I'll book a flight occasionally if it's like, hey, there's award space for this, act quick. But if I'm planning out a trip, I'm sitting on my computer. Call me old, call me get off my lawn guy, but that's what I got to do.
I'm mostly the same. I have done more on my phone lately. Some of the tools allow you to search a little bit better on your phone, which is nice. When you're putting everything together, it's got to be on the big screen.
Who are you kidding? You're sitting in bed on your phone booking the flight for that night.
Exactly. So, one of the more interesting issues for travelers is foreign exchange. And I feel like a lot of people who travel a lot, we have this figured out. We have credit cards that have no foreign exchange fees. You have the ATM trick where now you go to in a different country, you go to an ATM and it asks you whether you want it to do the conversion, which is a big trap. And now Uber, they got an idea to increase revenue by bringing this same trap to your Uber rides all around the world.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good lip service where they say everything will be displayed in your local currency, no matter where you are, to make it easier so you don't have to do the math gymnastics of figuring out how much the ride's going to be, which just sounds great. And they're like, oh, we're not going to charge you any conversion fee, or like we're going to give you whatever it says it should be. But that could be a widely variety of things, as we've seen from like the ATM and stuff. They don't use the best exchange rate, and then they also charge you a 1.5% currency fee charge. So it's probably going to cost you anywhere from 1.5 to like 5% if you let them go this route.
And you have an article talking about how to opt out of this, and everybody should just put a credit card that doesn't have foreign exchange fees, let them charge you in the currency. And that exchange rate is the secret sauce because it allows them to build in their commissions even higher without being sort of transparent. Plus, they are charging the 1.5% on top of it. So there's really no reason to do this at all.
Yeah, it takes you a couple seconds to go in there and switch it off or change it to no selection of currency. Some people aren't seeing it yet. Some people do after they update the app. If you're outside the country, it seems like it's not populating for you yet. It doesn't start until I think the 27th. So I'm guessing they're rolling it out in batches. If you don't see it yet, just check back in like a week and then maybe in 2 weeks and see, where it's at and everything. But if you're like overseas and you go to book a ride and it comes up in US dollars, then you need to go in there and switch it off.
And one positive that could have come out of this is credits are tied to the sort of the home currency. And so the thought was maybe now you could use US dollar credits overseas, which would have been a nice side effect of this, but that isn't the case. We don't even get the good part.
Yeah, I mean, if you could buy gift cards for Uber for 15 or 20% off, like they have sales sometimes, even though we've seen proof that they charge more if you have a balance. For the Amex credits, it would be really helpful if you could use those overseas instead of having to burn them on Uber Eats or something like that. They actually figured that this was going to be the number one question, and they did it in their Q&A, and they're like, yeah, no, they're still not going to work, which is so stupid.
Also stupid is closing all of your customer service desks at your hubs, but that's what United has done. And there was some rumblings online about how you have to scan a QR code now and go on to a video app with somebody in a centralized area, and then that's not helping. Then you got to call customer service. So basically, if things go wrong, there is no customer service desk to help you get rebooked, to get hotel vouchers. You got to go through this centralized system, and it's causing all kinds of problems.
Yeah, I think this happened, last year at some point, several months ago. But we just saw somebody tagged us on Twitter about it. I think it was Gordon. So appreciate that. And I don't fly United much. I know you don't really either. So we don't run into it. And then you wouldn't even know it was a thing until you have an issue and you like look for a desk and you can't find a human, which is crazy in your hubs. I can understand if this was like non-hubs and they're like, you know what, we're going to close those down. They're not as busy, but we'll keep our hubs active. But you close those down and just skip the QR code bullcrap. Call reservations directly because that's probably where they're going to send you anyway. Like one person on Twitter missed their flight. It was their own fault, but they just wanted to get moved to another flight. And a desk agent probably could have done that in under 5 minutes. And it took him 15, 20 minutes to make the calls. He did the video call first, which was basically just his own face on video. He didn't even see the other person, which is weird enough. And then they're like, oh, you got to call reservations. So then he had to call them and they had to go back and forth on, oh, I don't know if we can just move you into that, or do we have to charge you more, all this stuff. And then after 20 minutes, he paid $50 and got on the next flight.
Yeah, enough of this QR code stuff. There are a lot of people in the population that cannot figure this out. We talked on the Vegas show about QR code parking and how that's sort of spreading everywhere. And I've been in parking lots with QR code parking where I've had to help people figure out how to use it. I mean, it's not that difficult for people who are used to technology, but there are older people. There are a lot of people who don't do this stuff. And you got to think about those people. At least have somebody that they can go stand in front of, have the other service that people who are more savvy can do. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not happy with this whole scan a QR code for everything nonsense that we have today.
Yeah, what if they're still rocking a flip phone, like a Razor or something? They might not even be able to do it. I'm sure there's somebody out there to do, like a track phone or something. It's negative. It's not the best setup or anything. I would say if you have access to a United Club, maybe go in there and see if the agents can help you out. If you have a credit card that gives you access, or maybe you get the 2 free passes every year from the lower end credit cards. So I would save those for when you run into some issues. Although at times they're so full they won't let anybody in. So it's just tough all around.
What's also tough is getting scam stuff. I mean, it's getting crazy how often scam emails are coming. There's the version where we hacked your webcam and you did some naughty stuff. I've received several of those from my wife and I over the last few weeks.
And they send you like a picture of your house from the Google Maps. So they're like, we know where you live. And it's a picture. And it's funny because at first you're like, oh, that's kind of scary. But then you're like, oh, that's a car that I haven't owned in 2 years.
Yeah, I didn't get the picture from Google Maps. They did have my address and stuff. But yeah, it's scary when you get this stuff. And there's this toll road scam going around. I got it, and several people all around the internet got it. It's going out pretty wide saying you owe this. And just a reminder, be very skeptical when you get a text, a call. They're getting very sophisticated with the scams, and they do play on your emotions because we do feel these emotions like we're in trouble and we want to fix it.
Yeah, that's why we've even seen intelligent people getting scammed, sending gift cards for IRS, because once you get they get into your fear zone or whatever it's called, and you just don't think clearly. You're like, oh crap, I got to take care of this right now. The toll road one, I got it as well a couple times, and at first it feels legit because I didn't notice anything spelled wrong. It sounded authentic, and I had been driving in other states, and whenever you do that, sometimes you just don't notice the toll road or whatever, and you drive through. Or there are some states that just mail it. They look at your license plate, mail it. Like there's nowhere to go pay while you're driving, so they send you. And I got one once that was like, well, you paid late, so a $5 fine too. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the first time you sent it to me. So that's a terrible setup and scammy on its own. Thanks a lot, government.
But yeah, be on the lookout, be super skeptical. This is getting scary. You can lose a lot of money. Don't click emails. If a bank calls you, call them back with the number on the back of your credit card. Verify everything. Triple check to make sure this stuff is legitimate when you're getting contacted, because it is getting crazy. And it seems like it's more widespread than ever. Like we both got this toll scam, and so did everybody else. So yeah, it's crazy. So let's move on to some credit card news. The Delta cards have increased offers. You do have an article that ranks all of these offers from worst to best. But for you, the gold cards are really where it's at, right?
Yeah, that's where the most value is. It basically goes reserve as the most expensive are the worst 2 cards, then platinum as the next most expensive are the next worst 2 cards, and then the gold end up being the best. Portion of that is because the annual fee is waived the first year. The business cards of each variety come out a little bit ahead because they offer more miles for the sign-up bonus. I think these are as high as the offers have gotten. They were like this last year as well. They come out it feels like every quarter, or at least 3 times a year. So if you're interested in it, I would look at the gold cards. If you're under 524, grab the business card. If you're over 524 and you're not looking to get back under, you can grab some of the personal cards. But if you're grabbing personal cards, you want to start with the gold anyway because of the family rule. If you go and grab the platinum, let's say, then you're not going to be eligible for the gold anymore. So you want to do those ones in order. On the business side, you can do it in any order, at least for now.
I think the big takeaway here is, like you said, these do come around often, so don't fall over yourself. There's nothing here that's crazy, but the gold probably the best value as far as getting the miles. You value them at 1.15 cents, and I think maybe people out there would question, how did you come to that valuation?
Just from personal experience using them, they've been trying to drive it down as close to a penny as possible. Now, if you do have the credit cards, they might even be worth a little bit more than that because of the 15% rebate you get on the miles or discount. So it might be closer to like 1.2, 1.25, something to look at. But they're definitely not. They're the least valuable airline miles out there for the most part.
So, staying with American Express, there are some new targeted offers for upgrading a card to the Platinum card. I think we've seen as high as 180,000 points in the past for doing this, but right now they're targeting people 125,000, which is significant. It's a lot and certainly worth looking into. Now, there is no secret link that we can give you to check for this. You'll have to log into your accounts or check your emails, but if you're targeted, this might be worth considering.
Yeah, a good spot to check is like Amex offers down at the bottom of like a business gold card, and you might see it there. Now, one thing we should say is if you do get this offer and you've never had the Biz Platinum, you don't want to take it because just carrying an Amex card at any point makes it so you can't get a sign up bonus on it. So you'd be better off grabbing an Amex Business Platinum, grabbing the sign up bonus, which has been as high as 300,000 points. I think it's in the 200 to 250,000 range via referral and other ways. So look out for one of those. You could actually grab that and then shortly after take the upgrade offer too and get both basically at the same time.
Yeah, and as you might have gathered by now, there are all these rules, these family rules, these application rules. It's not just American Express, but it's other banks as well. And you definitely want to sort of become aware of these before you apply so you don't accidentally grab a card that screws you up from something else. It's an unfortunate reality in 2025 that you have to know all this stuff. It didn't used to be the case, but yeah, you want to understand how whatever card you're getting affects other cards you have or might be getting in the future.
This is the weirdest rule for Amex, that just carrying a card, like before there were family rules, if you had like a surpass and you downgraded to the no fee Hilton card, you would automatically not be able to get a sign up bonus for that. Even though you never earned a sign up bonus, most banks it's you can't earn another sign up bonus in so long, but you can get the card as much as you want or whatever without a sign up bonus. I don't understand why Amex has it set up this way. It's kind of like a gotcha moment. It's even worse, I think, than their lifetime rule, which is like 5 to 7 years, because they have so many of these no lifetime language offers, these upgrade offers. You can still make your hay even when you're in that lifetime thing, but just holding a card from a downgrade, an upgrade, or just signing up and not getting a bonus, like it doesn't make any sense to me.
So our last episode of 20 Minute Travel was the shortest ever, around 13 minutes or something. And one of the reasons for that, it was short anyway. And then we had an Uber Clear deal that we talked about that we had to cancel because they pulled it early. And they had some new terms talking about if you get the credit with a credit card in there, and it was just a little different than before. And then they just canceled it outright. And then people are getting refunds for this. So it's a whole crazy situation.
Yeah, I have one buddy that got the full $199 refund, and then he got a $124 refund, which made us think, okay, maybe they're sending out the Uber voucher, which I think a lot of people got the $124. And then a couple of days later, they got the other $75. So maybe they canceled the Uber voucher. His account's all messed up. He has 2 credits, within like 5 days of each other. And I think others got maybe just the 124. I'm guessing they got the 75 too. Originally, it was thought, all right, I turned this credit into $75 in Uber bucks. I got $75 credited. Hey, that's a win. And I'm guessing it's from people that have had other Clear accounts, like using different email addresses, and they were trying to take advantage of this offer and get like a new Clear if theirs had expired, and they caught on to it, or they just are mad because it came from an Amex card that had a credit. I don't know, but it's a complete mess, and Clear is terrible with communication, so we're kind of in the dark.
Yeah, and some of your best advice that you gave on the last show for this promotion was you signed up family members, things like that. That's probably okay, but there was probably people signing themselves up multiple times knowing they were never going to really activate this at the airport because you never had to do that to get the Uber voucher. Anyway, it's a complete mess. Hopefully your friend gets to keep all the credits and he comes out way ahead. I don't know, but
Amex will never let that happen.
Wyndham also has a timeshare that we should talk about. We always talk about the Hilton timeshare offers and sometimes Marriott and others, but Wyndham not as much. And they have this timeshare offer that has tons of destinations, the typical ones like Orlando and Vegas, but New York City, Hawaii, a bunch of other ones, anywhere from about $200 and up. You get 15,000 to 30,000 points, which Wyndham points are worth a decent amount. We have a whole article about it, but what's interesting here, Mark, is in some markets, they're putting you up in Marriott's or IHG hotels or Hyatt's.
Yeah, I thought that was really strange, and it makes this a little bit more unique. And 30,000 Wyndham points are probably worth close to, 60, 75,000 Hilton points. So they're kind of on the same level in terms of points value. And then $200 is a little bit less than what we've seen Hilton at with like $250. So these are some of the better offers we've seen. And the cool thing is you don't even have to really stay in a Wyndham potentially, which are not always the best hotels. In some markets, you can get put up in like a Hyatt place, which isn't the greatest. But the cool thing is, at least with my experience in Hilton, is the timeshare company pays for your hotel room a cash rate. They book you, even when you're staying at a Hilton, they're a separate corporation. So they book you at the Hilton. When I check in, I give them my Hilton Honors rewards number, and then they give me all the perks, like I get the breakfast stuff, maybe a potential upgrade, all those things. And then I earn points on the stay. So I'm assuming it would work the same way that Wyndham is paying for these rooms at Hyatt or Marriott. You can add your stuff when you check in, and then you can get some cheap elite night credits. You can earn some points that you didn't spend any money on. And you get a stay that's worth probably $600 to $800 for a couple $100 out of pocket. So definitely worth considering.
Now, we don't know anybody who has a ton of experience here. You do have to go to a 2-hour timeshare presentation, so we don't know how bad that is, but just set the clock. Like Mark always says, 2 hours, you're out of there, or tell them you're a travel blogger and maybe they'll let you out early. My joke I make every single time.
Yeah, that was like the coolest thing ever. Yeah, I think if you go in there and when you sit down with the person, if you're like, hey, I use miles and points to travel, I have millions of them, I don't need this, I'm just here for the freebies, I don't want to waste your time, often they'll just let you go earlier than 2 hours. If you try to placate to them and be nice and just say, I'm not really that interested, they're going to take that as an opening. So be like really firm up front. If you have a good person, they're not going to want to waste their time trying to sell it to somebody that has no hope.
And now for some cool Fred Howard Park. There is this beach out north of Tampa, north of St. Petersburg in Tarpon Springs, where you drive this causeway out a mile, and then it's just a beach out there with a parking lot, but of course, tons of wildlife, everything else. I had never heard of this, and I love this article on Family Destination Guide. It's so...
they went over the top, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's so romantic in the way that it describes this place.
It's almost like they wrote it with hyperbole. I don't know. Everything was like, oh, the sand is like an hourglass, fine tooth comb. You won't even feel it. You're walking on sky. It's like crazy. And that's okay to mix it in here and there. But when it's every sentence, it's like, let's go. Like, come on, be cool here. But no, it looks amazing. It doesn't look like it's all that busy or super well known. So I think it's kind of like a hidden gem a bit. And, we've seen Florida beaches be crazy busy. So if you can find this kind of like slice of paradise and get out there, if you're staying in Tampa, it's supposed to be pretty cool. And I asked our buddy Brian, who lives in Tampa, I said, have you ever been here before? And he said he's been once. He's been dying to go back. It's really, really cool. So definitely check it out if you're in the area.
Yeah, I love unique things like this, sort of being isolated out there. And then that area, there's so much cool wildlife. I've been into some reserves in there. You have manatees around often, dolphins swimming in the ocean, and obviously the birds and everything else. So yeah, it looks great and people should go there. And I want to go there next time I'm there. I really like that area. St. Pete and Tampa, I feel like is very underrated. You have some incredible beaches along the coast as well. And I just like the overall vibe of that part of Florida.
Yeah, I really enjoy Tampa. I even like down like Sarasota is probably my favorite area on that side of Florida. There's so much there in that little corridor. In like an hour drive of each other, there's quite a bit to do, and you can usually get fairly affordable flights to Tampa and stuff. And there's quite a few other airports in that area like Punta Gorda, and you have options. But I love that it's kind of like its own little key, but it's just a beach.
Yeah, it's surprising they didn't let rich people build houses on it.
Exactly.
So let us know what you guys think about everything we discussed today. The Delta card offers, upgrading American Express Platinum, United getting rid of their customer service desks at hubs. Is that insane? Have you ever been to this beach down in Florida? Let us know down in the comments. We do 2 shows a week. We have our full podcast on Mondays, talking about our lives, our travels, behind everything in the hobby. Plus this show every Wednesday. Consider subscribing. If you're listening to us, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.